Good morning, Christina Glickman. How are you today?
Hi, I'm so great and I'm just thrilled to be here. So good morning.
Oh, good morning to you too. So, I am thrilled to start my Monday morning off with you. And I'm actually super thrilled to bring us back full circle to where Opportunity Knocks started. You
Mhm.
were one of my first three people that said yes to talking about opportunities. And as you know, like when COVID started, I got super fearful that women were going to lose their jobs and leave the workforce. And that's how we started the podcast, Opportunity Knocks. So glad that you're here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a ride and, thank you for kind of circling back to where we started. And I love that you created this to share the stories about opportunity because there's nothing that gives me more joy than watching women open their eyes to it, take advantage of it, go for it, all the things. And I think the sharing of stories is how we get there.
Yeah,
Um,
I completely agree with you. And sort of bringing down the barriers and the walls for people to realize that we are frankly all the same. We're just, one thread away from one another with different experiences, right? So everybody out there, I'm so excited to introduce you to Christina Glickman. She is an award-winning author of an amazing book. In addition, she is an author. I just said she was an author. In addition, she is a speaker. She owns a membership and on. She does one-on-one coaching. Honestly, there are so many gifted talents with Christina. I don't even know where to start. She is better off the person describing it than myself. Let's
Oh,
face it.
you're so sweet. I mean, truly, when somebody says, "Well, how should I talk about you?" It's like, first of all, I'm a mother, not just. I won't say that. It's truly my first title. I will
Four
always,
kids, right?
yeah, yeah, mother of four kids. Yes, I'm super proud of the book that launched last year. I'm excited about an upcoming TEDx talk. I've, developed a beautiful community of women. We call ourselves the Xtra Love Army. But I think um, the real thing for me to talk about has nothing to do with the successes of any of it or where I even am today. It really is all about who I get to become in the process of sharing myself and owning and feeling responsible for my future. And that takes a lot of work, I think. And
Mhm.
especially as women, in our DNA, we are taking care of everyone all the time. And I think it takes a lot of eyes wide open to understand when opportunities are there, because I always like to say that, life's biggest announcements come in unannounced. And
Yeah.
if I'm not open to them or aware or present, I'm probably going to miss them.
Mhm.
And so for me, it just feels extremely important to, tap women on the shoulder, give them the whisper or give them the nudge and say, you too can do XYZ, whatever that means for you. And making sure that they feel that they have the permission and authority to lead their life in that way. And there is not one way, there is not one road, there is no A to B. I hope I am always continuing to arrive until the day I die. There is no end game here. It's, am I joyful today? How do I feel? Is my family safe and loved? All those things, which I think sound simple, but they're hard to really live, right? It's
Yes.
hard to live in that moment of filtering and auditing your day through those truths.
Yes.
It's
Well, I think some of the things you're talking about is a personal growth and lifelong learning,
Mhm.
but B, wanting that, like really
Yeah.
opening your heart to those possibilities and living your life actively versus passively.
And I think also a big component of it is, do you accept that you're deserving of it?
Hmm.
I think asking yourself, we all are sort of fundamentally born good enough. And along the way, the stories that we're told or badges that we wear seem to nip away at who we are, right? And it's just a product of life, period. We all have it, good, bad, or otherwise. And
Hmm.
so
Absolutely.
we either decide that, yes, I am deserving of abundance just because I am here and I'm alive, and
Hmm.
that's enough. That's hard. I mean, it sounds good, but it's difficult. And so I think once you accept that, yes, I am deserving of this, the next piece is I do need to activate myself because no one's going to hand that to you. You know, I used to prescribe to, I worked all the time, and I was always available to people, and I had no boundaries. And I thought that that meant to everyone else, wow, she works so hard. Look at her. Now I actually, that makes me cringe.
Mhm.
I don't have, the badge of busyness is not one that I want. And
Absolutely.
I used to prescribe that, but then I think the reason I'm sharing that is we are meant to evolve and change. And it wasn't until I really accepted that I understood, okay, well, that was me a few years ago. Here's me now. I'll be something different in a year, but just kind of embracing that I'm doing the best that I can. I'm going to be a forever learner and curious, and um, try to lift and support people along the way.
Yes, I agree. I mean, and I think you do an amazing job of that because you have so many different outlets to allow people that discovery process and that space to accept who they are in such a honest, transparent way. You really do. Like that. I think one of the things that I would say about you is you show up to the table as you all the time, no
Mhm.
matter what.
You know, I appreciate that, but I will have, I'll tell you, it's because in a backwards way, it's a defense mechanism for me, because I can be my most confident when I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. Because
Absolutely.
if I came here to talk to you and I had the magic keys to how to build a business and why is this great, and I would be immediately feel like a fraud, right?
Mhm.
Because I
Absolutely.
don't have that. But instead, I come here and I think, oh my gosh, I'm with my good friend. I love her. I love what she's doing. And if I say something that lands on someone's heart, then I did my job. And
Absolutely.
and if I didn't, that's okay too. But if I walk around with the pressure that I need to show up in a certain way for other people, I'm going to fail every time.
Mhm.
Because whether it's to my children or a spouse or a friend, but if I know with pure intention that I'm showing up with all that I have just as me, I mean, that seems a little bit liberating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think you're right, is that so many women in their space of actually trying to find themselves show up as others
Yes.
instead of as
Yeah.
themselves.
Take that little sound bite and pull that one out. Because
Mhm.
isn't that the truth? But it's also because, and again, I don't ding anyone for it. It's also
No.
how we figure out where we're going, right? It's like if I see you doing something, then I want to mirror it because you're having success or you're doing it well. And if we can continue to put our own version of things on it or show up in the way that it's really about us, not only is it more authentic, but it's easier,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
It's easier.
Yeah, it really is easier. It actually is disarming. It's
Yeah.
disarming for others and it's disarming for us. We could relax into our, like you said, ourselves.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to understand, how did you get to where you are today? You know, like when we're looking at you and you've devised this, you had a past prior to children, 4 children, like we said. Like, do you bring any of those tools from your past into your current? And how did it happen?
I mean, like right now, I'd like to sound super smart and tell you exactly how. And my answer really is a big, big bag of messy. Um, oh, I think a few things. I've always had the perspective of wanting to learn from the moment that I'm in. So whether it was my working life before children, which was I was in advertising and marketing and I did all of that, and then I stayed home with my kids for a while, and then I went into another piece of business. And then when I started into this creative side with the book, it was because in each of those seasons of my life, I made sure that I was doing them to the fullest. And it's a little bit where the word extra comes in. And for your listeners, the name of my book is called Xtra, The Art of Being, and my brand is turned into this word extra. And I always share that extra isn't necessarily what you think of it, right? And I know your listeners can't see me, but I have crazy hair and big hoops and the whole
Oh,
thing.
they can see you.
Oh, they can see me. Oh,
It gets posted on Instagram as
oh,
all your glory and beauty.
okay, sorry. Hi. But what I was going to say about that was extra for me is I think I've always in my life shown up every day and did a little bit more. So if you
Mhm.
ask me for 10, I give you 11. It's just always been that way. And I don't mean epically, like I'm blow stuff out of the water. I just mean I'm always going to give you a little bit more of myself. And I think that when that cumulative of impact of all of that is leading your life to the fullest
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not half-assing it and I'm not phoning it in. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
not. And so that extra for me is a way of living. And I think I did that within every season of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm connecting the dots backwards.
No, I
I,
love this because it frankly, I'm learning because it gives me perspective. I didn't know where extra came either.
oh,
So
yeah.
it's an education. Yeah.
Right. And most people think, because again, the book is very sort of fashion driven, it would make sense that it's about being extra and wearing big shoulder pads and all the things, which of course there's some truth to it, because I do think that your clothing is your armor and how you represent yourself into the world. And there is a piece of you that is identified that way. And you can choose to either use that as an expression of yourself and blow that out or not. But it was really meant about a way of living life. And that's
Mhm.
really how I got into more about my messaging and speaking, because while I've always loved fashion and the creative part of it, that was only half of the equation for me. The other was about how you're showing up in life, on the inside.
Mm. Interesting. And when you think to yourself about being extra, to me, like what comes up is really around integrity.
Mhm.
Is that you really have the utmost integrity in everything you put forward. And I see that. I see there's nothing halfway. And we talked about this a little bit before we got on the call about your TED Talk. And you were sharing with me that you wouldn't do it unless you showed up fully.
Yeah. And I really made that commitment to myself because I thought if I'm going to embrace something that for me is wildly hard, then I'm going to give it all I have. And
Hmm.
the giving it all I have isn't because I'm attached to the outcome of success. The giving it all I have is because I deserve to show up for me
Hmm.
and know that I've done everything I can. And I think that that's also been a big learning for me in the past few years of the release of the next and just being fully aware that I'm in this moment and I'm sort of manifesting these things because it feels right for now. And also
Hmm.
giving myself that, permission slip to change if it doesn't feel right or aligned.
Absolutely.
I'm
And I
not going
love that
to,
you say that because I think that most women come into any circumstance thinking that there is no choice.
yeah,
And that's what opportunity is. It's choice. And
yeah,
we have a choice. Do you want to continue? Do I like this? But
yeah.
what would happen if we didn't try it?
Right. And also, what's the consequence to the action holding you back? What is the worst thing that's going to happen? If it for me is not that you're going to die or something bad's going to happen to my children, or there's really not much of a risk there for me because
Absolutely.
there really isn't. And I do think that a lot of that is just, chapters of life and experiencing things. I wouldn't have said that at 20. Everything was
Absolutely.
so big. And now
Yes.
48, I love aging. I mean, I don't love some of the things that come with it, but I do love the wisdom that comes because we can
Absolutely.
sort of settle into it knowing that we also can hand over the keys that like it is going to be okay. Like
Hmm.
the universe is looking out for me, right? If
Absolutely.
I'm open to it. And that there's a sense of calm there for me that I now just trust. And I think that it really comes down to, trusting yourself, right? Whatever you like to
Absolutely.
say, it's really about
Absolutely.
trusting yourself.
What does it look like to step in? Like when you say, I'm going to step in to this experience or this choice, whatever that might look like. What does that look like for you? Like,
Yeah,
how
well,
does
I'll
that
break it
happen?
down into sort of components of my life.
Yes.
So parenting and mothering, there will never be a life's work more important to me than mothering. It's just in my DNA and my biggest joy. So uh, for me, stepping into it is as small as, my daughter will say, I want to do a Saturday night candy cart.
Hmm.
Well, I'm going to go to Target. I'm going to buy all the movie candy that I can. And I'm going to put a little sign up and be like, and give her a little invitation and say, Saturday night, we're doing this.
I
And
have to say, people need to follow her on Instagram because her stories are phenomenal. And she is not joking. She is no joke when she says that somebody is going to have some sort of
oh my
theme,
God, then I'm
donut
gonna do it.
theme, whatever craft she's doing. I'm impressed.
And I'm not talking about money or doing something obnoxious. I'm just talking about leaning into the joy. Like, I'm in my daughter's room because I'm hiding. And 2, 3 weeks ago, she wanted to paint her walls. And my immediate reaction would have been, is that going to match your carpet? Like, what about your bedspread? Like, is that going to work? And instead I was like, let's go to Home Depot right now. Do you want to paint your wall? Let's go do it. And we did. And she like printed out those things, those posters of like Pantones, and here we are. So that's one thing in the parenting realm, which is stepping into the joy. That doesn't have to be a big deal here. Like lean into it. And then I would say, like, when it comes to work, what does it mean to do a little bit more? It means that I'm going to always try to add value. I'm not just going to do what you ask me to do. I'm going to actually think about it for a moment and think about how do I add value or put my own spin or branding on it so that it's me. Because if you're asking me to do something, I should be able to provide value that's mine, right?
Absolutely.
That's a little bit more. And so I'm in constant thought of how do I be of service? And usually being of service is that I'm going to either help you do something or think about something in a different way. And so for me, it's another step. And like, if you ask me to, make you a bowl of cereal, I'm not just going to give you cereal. I'm probably going to put it in like a really great bowl and then a special spoon. And I might like put little heart sticky on it. And so it's just kind of like, what do you do that's a little bit more? But I will say, just to be clear, that gives me joy.
Yes.
So and then that might not be for everybody. For everybody else to be like, that is a pain in the butt. I'm never doing that. But what is it for you? Like, what is doing a little bit more for you? So just to be clear, I'm not suggesting everybody be Mary Poppins.
But what I love about it actually is what you're describing is two things. One is growth mindset, is that you're always looking for a way to spin it from a positive. Like, some mothers, when a child would come to them and say, hey, or bosses, whatever it is, whatever the subject is, they'd be like, I don't want to do that. But you're like, all right, game on, let's do it.
Love what you just said. I cannot show up in this world and have that attitude. That would kill me. Even if I don't want to do it, that reaction, I refuse to take because it immediately drains me. So I might think like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to immediately say, how can I make it so I want to do that? Like, what part of that makes it appealing to me? Because again, we don't all get the luxury of walking around doing stuff we want to do, but I'm always going to find, and again, that's where the opportunity comes in. Are you looking for it?
Yes.
And again, we're talking this month with my community about this idea about this, the beauty of a no and rejection and all these things, because if you are looking for the opportunity, it will present itself, maybe not in the moment. And so that does go back to attitude and energy. I can't live in a space of Charlie Brown. I'll die,
Yeah, I cannot imagine you in that space. It would not work very well.
I get there, but I get out quick. I always say, like, I'm not checking into the hotel for long, but I'll get there. I Charlie Brown it out, and then it's like it's gone.
And then you're like badass Lucy.
And then, yeah, exactly. Then I got to get back to the game.
Exactly. That's
so
very
all about acknowledging and experiencing the emotions, but I'm not staying there.
Yes. Well, I mean, because I think in your case, it doesn't serve you. How is that serving you?
It doesn't serve me. And the other thing too is it's human nature to think that everything's easier for everyone else. If in fact this podcast was all about the challenges, the barriers, the no's, the tragedies, the losses, I could fill days as every other human could. Somebody else only sees, oh my God, look at how easy that looked. Look at the path or how she built that or whatever. What a joke.
Yeah.
Hard every day. Exactly. I mean hard in a good way, but I just mean, if you think that anybody out there that is experiencing joy within their world doesn't have to work for it, I don't think that's true. I think you are intentionally setting
very few people.
Right. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to create the life you want to lead.
Absolutely.
And I would just hope that everyone gives themselves the opportunity to find it. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, are we just living or are we actually loving to live?
Yeah, I know. That's like why I always say, like, am I just existing? I don't want to exist.
Exactly.
I want something more. But it goes back to sometimes we don't even have the drive for more because there's other things at play. We're either maybe in a financial situation or we're depressed about a relationship or, life is hard. And then that's where I'll say, who do you surround yourself with? Absolutely. That's what's going to get you through anything. And we've seen that through the pandemic that, audit who is giving you energy and who's sucking it away from you, because it's really hard to be positive and hopeful and all the things when you are either, carrying somebody else's emotional burdens, or, in an environment of people that aren't your cheerleaders or support you, you
Yes,
know?
absolutely. So I think you bring up a really good point because you're talking about, no's, right? And I mean, I know that both of us also are very versed in the rationale around no and how to get to the yes and all that. So my question for you is, tell me about a time where you heard no, but you were able to shift it to yes.
Well, I mean, it just happened for me, where, again, I'm in the heat of the moment, but for my TED Talk, for months, I'd been working on an opening. And part of it, the opening was a quote from a book that I have
Mhm.
had my whole life. I won't tell it here because I might use it somewhere else. And I had to get the rights to even say the book's name. Okay.
Mhm.
They said no. And that was pretty crushing because it's the thread throughout my entire talk.
Mm,
Now it's gone.
yes.
It was a big
And that
deal.
was like a vision that you had held
Yeah. A
like your whole
vision.
life. It's almost like a whole
Right. Because
cookie
it was the
crumbling.
thread throughout the whole document.
Mm,
And so in that moment, I took it as that means that this was the gift, that there is a better idea out there. That's what it means.
mhm.
And I used to joke about if I would get a no for something, I would always say that just must mean that day that, Oprah's calling me for lunch and I have to be available. So there's got
Totally.
to be a reason, right? And so whether or not somebody thinks that's unrealistic or too pithy, I have to believe it's because something else exists that I may not be aware of, but that's the opportunity of it, right?
Mhm,
So I feel like that happens to me all the time.
mhm.
That one was a big one because it had been months of work,
Yes.
and so you have to then change your brain and then accept the information and say, because then again, other people that are in my world are like, well, can you fight it? And can you do this? And I was like, no,
No.
the universe has spoken. This
Mhm.
is what it is. That means, and here I sit today, the idea is so much better without it.
Wow. Isn't that interesting perspective?
But I think it's also because I made that perspective,
Mhm,
right?
absolutely. Well, I
So
think that that's the thing is, again, mindset, right? Like, how are you gonna shift your perspective? How do you how and let me ask you a question. How quickly do you normally move through those processes?
quick.
Mm,
I think quick. And I'm not suggesting people should be quick.
no.
I'm personally quick, I think, with it because I guess my resting state cannot feel unsettled.
Mm,
I don't, I almost can't function in it. Like
mm.
I can't, I
Because
think,
it goes back to not serving you
yeah,
again.
like, and I know when I'm in that state and I'm actually okay being in it for a while, being like, oh, I'm literally going to go lay down, watch Netflix. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm not sending emails. Like I'm just out.
Mhm.
Usually for me too, it's just the start of a new day, right? Wake up, sun is out, a new day's coming. But I'd say pretty quick. I mean, I'm not someone, even through like, this sounds terrible, but tragedies, I don't stay there a long time.
Mm, mm.
I've got to find why this serves me, or I've got to find why it's positive for me. I have
Mm.
to.
Well, I relate to that. I mean, and like you're saying, not everybody moves through as
Yeah.
quickly. Some people need to sit through process a lot longer. But I agree that I think if you're solution oriented, which you are, it's very difficult to sit in that. And sometimes we need to. But
Yeah.
in this case, it sounds like it worked out super positive for you. So that's
And I
amazing.
do completely respect, I would say this. I think that it's important we always acknowledge whatever emotion it is, because then we stuff it down and then it, rears its head again.
Mhm.
Um, but if you aren't sort of like doing the work on yourself to be reflective, to know how you operate, I think that's when we can get into a little bit of trouble, right? It's like only when we have free space in our brain do we actually, most people don't reflect how they process, right? It's how we
That's
do.
part of the challenge, right?
Right.
So tell me, what would you say your top 5 core values are?
Oh, geez. Well, I'm not a list person at all. My top 5 core values. I mean, my goodness. I think for me, it's just number one is leading my entire life with my family first.
Mm,
They will trump everything I always do. I will drop everything at any moment. That's just where I go. And I mean, a core value to me is, the integrity of showing up as who you are, and not, not fooling anybody here, and just acknowledging who you are. Another core value of mine, I think, is wanting to be of service and responsible in this world, in whatever way that means. I don't mean, you're saving the planet. What does it mean? I mean, I think you're doing something to leave the place a little bit better.
mhm.
I think another thing for me in particular is women supporting women. How are you lifting one another? Are you a part of the narrative that is making sure that, we create a longer table? And how are you doing it? Are you taking somebody else with you? Are you, how does that work for you? What's my fifth one? I guess my fifth one is uh, making sure that I'm only surrounded by good light and energy, um,
Mm.
and nothing else. I don't even know if those were core values, but that's what comes to
There are
mind.
core values within them. There, I mean, like for example,
Yeah,
women supporting women is community. Like you support yourself with
yeah,
community all the time. That's who you are.
yeah.
Yeah. So no, and they're beautiful. Like it, and I know you don't like lists, but
No, I mean, I could have rattled off
Ah,
adjectives.
damn, it was like a list.
No, I could have given you adjectives and been like, integrity, do the whole thing. But the reality is that for me, everything is always a messy bag.
Yes. Well, it's a messy bag that we have a choice if we make it pretty or not, right?
Right,
Which
right.
actually leads me to my next question. So fashion plays such a pivotal, strong role in your identity and what you bring forward. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, when did it start? How is it thread throughout everything you do?
I,
Why?
I mean, I think that first of all, you come into this world and certain people have different creative genes than others. So I've always had a desire and love for creativity and fashion. And I think it wasn't until I was in my early 20s, and I write about it in the book, but I had a significant experience about where my haircut came from. And I think that that was a catalyst to really stepping into something new and owning that. I was on a shoot, and they, ended up wanting to cut my hair, and they did. And I walked out with this. And then suddenly, whether you like it or not, it becomes a very big symbol of who you are. And
Mhm.
so I think that that was part of it. I think that the other, big piece for me about fashion is that it was always a way to express myself a little bit different. And I'm not really a rule follower. I never enjoyed it. Even in my like corporate years, if I had to wear a suit, I would wear something under it that maybe wasn't wholly appropriate. Like I
Right.
just felt like I always wanted to do it a little different.
Yes.
And now I'm so far the other way that I cannot show up if it doesn't feel just like me, right?
Mhm.
Like at all. Like it's I will never be able to exist if I was told a certain way. So
Absolutely.
um, I think it's a big piece, and it's also a fun piece. And I also think that it's such a big part of who we are, and a lot of women don't want to take a chance on that, or they'll always say like, "Oh, I can't wear that color. I couldn't do that, or I couldn't." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, it's a simple
I
joy."
actually think it's an easy way to make a statement or make a change, even just simple things like earrings, right?
Yeah.
Accessories. But I agree, so many women have so many hangups about the colors they wear, the length of whatever it is, the
No,
shoes,
but
what,
isn't it so funny though that like if you show up in a room and you feel confident in who you are, everybody else thinks you're confident. Like it's because when we, kind of ball up and not want to show who we are, that we're projecting that. And so
Mhm.
it really is crazy, the whole story of it. Like if you just came in standing tall, nobody would look twice at you
Yes.
because you are. And
Absolutely.
so that again, your energy is so spoken for the second you walk in anywhere.
Absolutely. And sometimes we don't even realize the amount of energy we harness
Yeah.
in a room, uh,
Yeah.
no matter how you're showing up, right? So
Yeah.
may as well make it good.
That's right. You're
Um,
you're getting some kind of light, so you better control it.
that's right. That's right. So my last question for you is really just around understanding, because I know that you run confidence groups as well. And I want to hear from you, like, what do you think makes somebody unapologetically confident?
Yeah. I think the unapologetic part is, are you really walking through life every day as yourself? And to me, that is every single step that you take, asking yourself, is this what I want to do? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Because I'm not going to apologize or explain to you why I'm even doing it. And it doesn't mean you're, a jerk and not listening to other people, but you're so confident in who you are that every step that you take and every purchase you make, every phone call you take, every whatever, you're doing it because you honor your relationship with yourself more than anybody. And I
Mhm.
don't have to explain it. So,
Absolutely.
there you could be confident about something, but unapologetic is that I don't need to explain anything to you. You
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think that's wisdom too,
know?
right? And
Oh,
I would say that this younger generation, I do honor them quite a bit because they show up more on unapologetically than we ever did.
oh, I agree. I
So
agree.
I will say it's nice that they're finding themselves earlier in life.
Yeah. Well, and also we've really been raising activists now, right? A
Absolutely.
whole different generation, which is a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah. Well, I just want to really thank you for your time, honor you for us being able to come back around and connect on this level, and for people to really sort of live on your words. Because I think so many women, you model the behavior. And one of the reasons why I'm so attracted to you is because you model the behavior of showing up as you every
Mhm.
day. And I honor that so much. And I'm
Mhm.
so grateful because you do serve such a wide community of people that come to you every day, and you're always available.
That's so nice. I mean, thank you for saying that. It isn't it so funny that all we crave is for someone to show us who they are,
Hmm.
right? That's all we crave, right?
Hmm.
But yet
Somebody
it's
to
so
see us.
hard. Yeah,
Hmm.
right? And if
Exactly.
you see me, will you still like me? Right? That's a scary thing. So
Mm.
that's it. The only way we get to do it is when we encourage each other, like on your platforms here, and somebody says, well, she did it, so I can do it too. And I just don't think we can ever underestimate the power of that.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to women supporting women, right?
Yep.
And we are a reflection of one another. So it's
Yeah.
an amazing gift. But to all our audience out there, please subscribe to Opportunity Knocks on Spotify and Apple. And also, you can find Christina on Instagram. But I highly recommend that you purchase her book, Extra, The Art of Being. Honestly, it's a beautiful book to have on your table, but it's also the most amazing gift. You could use it as a daily affirmation, and you could give it as a gift to your friends. So, Christina, I'd love for you to add anything where they could reach you, how
Sure.
to become a part of your membership, any of that.
Sure. Thank you so much. I mean, truly, my Instagram is just, at Christina Glickman. But what I think is so beautiful about that platform is it really is a community filled with wonderful people. So you can find me there, all the links, all the bios, all the good stuff. But if anything I said landed on you, that's where we can connect. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Of course, anytime. So, again, I honor you and I thank you, and I look forward to us connecting and offline as we always do.
You do. Thank you.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
You too.